If you have no particular idea of what the central tendency is of your data, but you do have an idea of the minimum and maximum value or the range, then you may want to use a uniform distribution. The uniform distribution is a bound distribution with all the values in a specific range having the same probability. There's no built-in function in Excel for a uniform distribution, so you'll have to calculate it yourself. The method is you use your min and your max value, which will give you a range, and then the density equals 1 over the loc and the scale. Here I've shown you the formula for doing this. In Excel, the rand or the rand between functions are used to calculate the values. The rand function calculates values that are greater than 0 and less than 1, but it never outputs a 0 or a 1. Because the scale in Excel is 15 digits, you can have an awful lot of potential values in a uniform distribution. I recommend that you truncate it to the scale that you want to use. So I've used a modified random value generator, which is the truncation of the max x minus the min x times the rand plus the minimum, and then n, where n is the scale of the truncation. The modified rand function and rand between both allow for negative values. The output that you get in the Excel spreadsheet looks like this. So now let's take a look at the Excel spreadsheet. Let's take a look at the uniform distribution in this Excel workbook. It's set up so there are two inputs, a min or the loc and the max. And we calculate the range, which is just the difference between the max and the min. And then we can calculate the density, which is basically the 1 over the loc plus the scale. In column A, I've done 10,000 random values using the modified technique, which, as I said before, which was the truncation of the range times the rand function plus the minimum, and I've put a precision of 2 decimals on this. To demonstrate, I'm going to change these inputs. We're going to use minus 50.1 and take it to positive 50.2. Now these are just random, but what I want to demonstrate is that it can handle negative values and decimals as well. So let's hit Shift F9 to do the calculation, and everything should change. So let's take a look here. We get the statistical measures, and it shows the mean at about minus 0.11, which is about right. It should be close to 0. The mode value is really meaningless in this estimation. But you get the min, you get the max, but it isn't exactly as your inputs because we're basically generating random values, 10,000 random values, so it won't always sample the extreme value points. I've created a histogram here using the frequency function, as you can see in the plot, and the density is basically just the value in cell B6 over here, and I've plotted it. So if I click on it, you can see it's just looking at these values, and for the frequency it's looking at the bins and the frequency.